Ahoy there, mates. Welcome aboard the VHS Pirate Ship. I'm Captain Adam, and welcome to the show and tell that treats you well. It's Captain Adam's Show and Tell. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining me today. It's always good to see you. Well, I guess I don't see you, or do I? No, I'm just kidding. I can't see you, but it is always nice to talk to you, I should say. And I'm glad you're here to hear me prattle on about all sorts of things. And today is a bit sort of a special episode on the Show and Tell. As you know, I typically show off my things in my VHS collection, be they a certain type of movie, a movie that has the same actor in it, movies that have the same actor in it, or VHS that are from a certain distributor or in a certain kind of case. Normally I talk about VHS, but I'm also prone to showing off other aspects of my collection because I collect more than just VHS. And one of the things I collect are restaurant ashtrays, a very interesting hobby. How I got into it, well, I don't really know. I guess it was just nostalgia overcame me, and I got my first ashtray was a Burger Chef ashtray I found in an antique store, and I've just been in love with them ever since. I guess the main reason why I dig these so much is just because they're such stoic examples of a bygone era wherein you could actually smoke inside of public establishments, like restaurants, of course, and some of these are from long defunct restaurant chains. So, just for nostalgia's sakes, these things are just reeking of nostalgia, and I certainly love the smell. So I don't know. Glass ashtrays, ashtrays in general from restaurants are just very, very nostalgic because there used to be a time where you could smoke anywhere. And you go to a restaurant, they'd ask you smoking or non-smoking. You go to a hotel or something, they ask you, do you want a smoking room or a non-smoking room? You go on an airplane, do you want a smoking section, non-smoking section? Smoking sections used to be a thing, and I don't really know when exactly it just completely switched over. And the information's out there, but I'm not going to look right now. But yeah, there was a time, however, where smoking was very, very acceptable, and there was an option to sit in a place where you could smoke. You used to be able to smoke in hospitals, for heaven's sakes. I remember my high school had a smoking section, and that's very interesting. But to think about that now, it seems so far removed that it's almost like from a different planet. Especially if you talk to a kid or a teenager or some young person and tell them, hey, you used to be able to smoke pretty much everywhere. And not only that, they actually had ashtrays that had the restaurant's logo on them. They just wouldn't believe you. So that's just what it is. That's why I like these ashtrays so much, because there's just a lot of elements to it that makes it just very, very nostalgic. For one, like I said, it's from an era where it's just not, that era is never coming back. You're never going to be able to smoke in places ever again. And then, like I said, a lot of these are from just long defunct restaurants, and the restaurants that aren't defunct, they contain their old logos and just stuff that just makes you really remember the past. They're a trip down memory lane. And well, maybe you're on the younger side of things, and you didn't grow up in an era where you could smoke everywhere and restaurants had their own ashtrays. So maybe this is all new stuff to you. It doesn't matter. You're going to have fun today either way. If you remember these or not, you're going to have fun today, and I'm very glad you're here, regardless if you know about these things or not. So very, very, as time goes by, and as smoking is so frowned upon, especially in public places, it's just so odd to think that you were able to once smoke in restaurants, actually smoke anywhere, and that even very, 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 very long ago, doctors actually recommended certain brands of cigarettes. So yes, cigarettes, smoking in general has not always been frowned upon. It's really just relatively recently it's been sort of shunned and browbeated and all this, and because it used to be smoking was very acceptable, and that's just how it was. And these ashtrays are a good example of a bygone era. So before we get started in my ashtray collection, let me ask you, how you doing out there? I certainly hope you're doing well. I'm doing well in here on board the VHS Pirate Ship. It's always fun to show you my stuff and talk to you about all kinds of things. And well, I hope you're having a good time out there. And if you're not doing well, if you got some crap happening, if you got some crapping, as I like to say, well, I want you to know that things are going to get better. As cliche and as corny as that sounds, things are going to get better. It may be corny, but it's true. Things are going to get better. It might not be today, might not be tomorrow, but eventually they will. Doesn't matter how slowly it goes. It's going to get better. Progress is progress, and even a slow clock, though it may tarry, still gets to its promised destination. And I want you to know that everything that happens is a cog in the wheel of the greater plan in action, and God's got a plan for you. Everything is going to be just fine. So please look onward and upward. Look to God and put your trust in Jesus Christ, and everything is going to be all right. And please know that there's people out there behind the scenes praying for you, rooting for you, cheering for you. Hey, I'm one of them. I'm here for you. This is your old buddy Captain Adam reminding you to stay positive in all things, keep the faith, and do well and be well always. So, hey, how about we look at some ashtrays today? Now, as far as the different aspects of my many collections, I would say my restaurant ashtray collection really is the one that certainly hones in on the antique vibe, as in they're really the only things I collect that are straight up antiques. Now, I do consider VHS tapes antiques because technically they are, and I've stated this fact or my opinion on this matter many times in the past. So yeah, I do consider VHS antiques, but for the general consensus, for the broader spectrum of things, I would say that most people probably do not. But restaurant ashtrays are certainly considered antiques, certainly in the glassware family. I should think so, at least a distant cousin in the glassware family. Glassware, of course, a rather popular means of antiquing. A lot of people collect glassware. I know a few people who do, and that's its own hobby. And in a restaurant ashtrays, it's its own hobby as well. Collecting them is its own hobby, and they all have a story to tell, don't they? Which is funny. Now, I did purchase all of these. But I should say that, the origin of these, all of these were stolen from whatever restaurant they say. They would have had to have been stolen. But in all fairness, the restaurants never said you couldn't take them. So I guess it was just assumed you weren't supposed to take them. But I'm sure people did, obviously, from this bundle I have. And there's plenty more out there on the high seas of the internet. So yes, and as far as antiquing goes, or getting into collecting restaurant ashtrays, it's not really that expensive. I think like the average price is probably about $20, which isn't bad if you consider like what they are. And usually antiques go a little bit pricier than that, especially glass stuff. Any kind of like restaurant promotional items usually kind of go on the higher side, depending on what the restaurant is. So yeah, $20 is an average. I've gotten them for cheaper, like $15. But some of them do explode in price, just depending on what they are. Now, we're going to get to it later, but McDonald's stuff, I should say, you might see that McDonald's ashtray up there at the top, the brown one there. They can get pretty pricey. McDonald's stuff in general can get pretty pricey out there, but we'll get to that. We'll certainly get to that. So, yeah, as far as like restaurant ashtrays go, as far as an antique collecting thing goes, not very expensive. Pretty easy to get into. There are lots of options. Some of them are more common than others. There are some that are very rare, and the price certainly reflects that. If you can find that particular ashtray at all, but luckily most of these are rather easy to find, I should say. And plus, listings pop up all the time. So if you're watching this, there's probably more listings than there were when I recorded this video. So you have to do some digging and see what you find out there. So first up, and I mentioned this one earlier. The first one I ever got was this one, the Burger Chef ashtray. And if you're not familiar, Burger Chef was at a time a major competitor with McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's. It was considered one of the big four of burger joints in the United States. Of course, I just mentioned McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and there was Burger Chef made up the fourth quadrant of that little power team. So of course they were always in competition with each other. Burger Chef, I don't recall when they started, but I know they were pretty hot through the 70s, and I believe they called it quits at about the mid 80s. I could be wrong about that, but they didn't last too much longer outside the mid 80s. And this one you'll notice as this video goes on, the footage of this had to be captured a bit prematurely, because right when I started production of this video, I sold this particular ashtray. So I just wanted to capture some footage of it real quick without setting up the whole studio thing and all that. So you'll notice the video for this one is quite different than my other ashtray footage. Ashtray footage, that's something I never thought I would say. But yes, this video is chock full of ashtray footage, and it's pretty fun. So yeah, Burger Chef went through a variety of logo changes. This is the one that was basically their primary logo, one that's everybody knows them from, with the little chef there, and this is what got them through the 70s. But when the 80s rolled around, early 80s rolled around, they did change the logo to a more, I guess, streamlined design, look more 80s. That particular logo I like the best. You can certainly look it up for yourself to see what I'm talking about. And I don't know if there is an ashtray that contains that logo. If there is, I have not been able to find it yet. So if they do have that, if it does exist, I certainly want that Burger Chef logo ashtray. But so far, I have not been able to find it. So that is that. Yes, Burger Chef. I was a little sad to say goodbye to this bad boy here, but sometimes you need the money more than you need a Burger Chef ashtray, and that was certainly the case. And but the rest of them, I think I'm going to hold on to for a very, very long time. So yeah, Burger Chef was kind of the only one I was willing to part with, because oddly enough, even though Burger Chef is a long defunct restaurant chain, Burger Chef stuff really doesn't go for all that much. So the ashtrays certainly do not. And what's interesting about Burger Chef is when Star Wars: A New Hope came out in '77, Burger Chef was the only restaurant chain to really pick up the promotional licensing to it, and they had like a Star Wars kids meal, and they certainly helped promote Star Wars, which is funny if you think of how big Star Wars became. It was originally being promoted by Burger Chef, a since defunct restaurant chain. So that's pretty interesting. But anyways, yeah, there's Burger Chef. You'll notice that this design, well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say it's a common template for ashtray design, this shape. But at least I thought that when I was shooting this video, but then I realized, well, geez, a lot of my ashtrays really don't look like this, so I'm going to ignore that. In fact, ignore that entire sentence. I didn't say that, okay? Okay, so let's move on. But I should add that, speaking of Burger Chef being sort of easy to find and easy to purchase, being that the prices are sort of low, if you're looking to get into collecting fast food or restaurant memorabilia, or even restaurant ashtrays, Burger Chef is a good place to start. Pretty reasonable prices, at least they are at this moment. So definitely, they're a good entry level to that collection, to that hobby of collecting restaurant memorabilia. So yeah, with that said, let's move on. And for convenience sakes, I think we'll just stick with the defunct restaurant ashtrays for now. And here we have Rax. Rax roast beef. It was a roast beef joint. Not a burger joint, but it was a fast food place. I think they started right at the same time as Arby's, or maybe they were before Arby's. I don't really know the story, but it's a roast beef joint. Certainly have a lot of nostalgia for Rax. We had one in the town I grew up in, so we went there a lot when I was a kid. And of course, they went defunct, I think 90. I'm not really sure, but to tell you the truth, there is actually one Rax that still operates. At least there was when I did research on. I do research on this stuff, because I did do a Week of the Week video about defunct fast food chains. That was about 2 years ago, and my findings, at least 2 years ago, was that there was still a Rax in operation somewhere in Ohio. You could look it up. I wonder if it's still open. I might have to look that up myself after I'm done this. But yeah, that'd be interesting if it was still open. I know I found it really fascinating that it was still open 2 years ago. I was very surprised by that. But yeah, Rax. Yeah, a lot of sentiment here with me. I grew up with Rax. But this, again, much like the Burger Chef logo, this is not really the logo that I want, but it is the only logo I can find is this one. This is like their original logo design. What really they started off called Jax, Jax, and they changed the name to Rax somewhere along the line. But the logo was the same when it was Jax roast beef. So yes, interesting story there. But so this is like the logo through like the 70s. What I really want is the logo that was the newer logo, possibly the last logo, which was the one through the 80s, which is what I grew up with. I really want an ashtray with that on it, but I cannot find one. I do not know if they made one with that logo on it. Because the thing about restaurant ashtrays is that not all of them used ashtrays that had their logo on it. Some of them just used just normal glass ashtrays or like tin ashtrays or just like normal nothing on them ashtrays. So really it was up to whatever location or region that had their logo ashtrays, or maybe they would break and they just, they got a case of just normal ashtrays or whatever. And the thing with like restaurant logos on ashtrays in the restaurant that the logo is of is weird to me. It's a weird promotional gimmick to where it's like you're already there. Why are you still promoting your restaurant when I'm already there? It's interesting that you would have your logo on something you could only find in the restaurant. It's like not a giveaway. You're not selling it. You're not putting it on a billboard. It's in the restaurant that you're promoting whilst I'm there. A very, very interesting concept to me. A little counterproductive, but I love it all the same. Certainly, it heightens your restaurant experience. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if you could say that, but it just made it feel different. I don't know. It was just different back then. Things were just different. And of course, the restaurant ashtray is certainly one of those differences between then and now. And I'm very curious, like I mentioned earlier, you could smoke in hospitals back then. I'm very curious if there are any hospital ashtrays, ashtrays that have the hospital's name on them. That would be very, very weird if that were the case. So yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up. But let me know in the comments below if you have ever seen a hospital ashtray. That is very interesting. And also let me know in the comments below if you've ever come across the 80s Burger Chef logo ashtray and the 80s Rax ashtray. I would be very interested to get those. So please let me know in the comments below. So yeah, Rax, definitely very sentimental with Rax. Too bad it's not the logo I grew up with, but it's okay. As I remember, we would always go to Rax for lunch, and then we would go across the street to Zayre's department store to shop, and then we would go to a Martin's, a grocery store that was right beside it. So that was it's very sentimental to me. I guess you'd have to be there. I don't know. I'm sure you have places like that you visited when you were a very little kid that you have fond memories of. But yeah, so Rax definitely on my sentimental list. I love having this ashtray. Like I said, I wish I had the 80s logo, but maybe one day I'll find it. Who knows? Let's move on. Let's switch gears here and move on to steakhouses or buffet houses, which is the case for Bonanza, which started off, I don't remember when they started, but they started off as a Bonanza sirloin pit, as you can see there on the right, the one I'm not, well, now I'm handling it. A Bonanza sirloin pit. They were primarily a steakhouse, but as time went on, they became more of a buffet house and less of a steakhouse. That's the later logo. Bonanza says steak, chicken, seafood, salad, that kind of stuff. It was a buffet house. Two separate ashtrays from two separate eras. Of course, the one on the right there is the earlier version, and the one on the left is the later version, probably. I'm guessing that's like the logo they just had until they went belly up, because Bonanza, as far as I know, Bonanza is a defunct restaurant. If it's not defunct, it's certainly dwindled in numbers to the point where you don't even notice. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Bonanza has gone belly up. Yeah, Bonanza was a pretty popular buffet house long before Golden Corral became a straight up buffet house. Bonanza was where it's at. And Bonanza was also part of the same company that owned our next ashtray with Ponderosa. Ponderosa was a steakhouse, I think went defunct in the early 2000s. I could be wrong about that. There could be a couple left. I'm not sure. All I know is Ponderosa was my second job. I worked at a Ponderosa in my hometown when I was 17 to 18, and that was a pretty interesting job. I was a grill cook there, become the head cook eventually. That was a pretty interesting job. Learned how to cook steaks. Learned, how long to keep them on for what level of doneness. It was an interesting job, kind of a hard job, but I was young and we all were partiers, so we would work till closed and just go out and just get twisted at somebody's house, and it was a fun time. I'm definitely glad I had that experience. And you know what? I recommend everybody at least once in their life work in a restaurant just to see what it's like, because it is definitely changes your perspective when you do go to a restaurant. You tend to be more sympathetic, and you just sort of understand how things work. You know how the sausage is made at that point, and there's no going back from that. So yeah, once you know, you know. And so yeah, I certainly recommend all you young people out there get a job sometime that's in a restaurant, just for a little while, just to see how it's like, and it'll definitely change the way you think of restaurants. I know this job certainly did. Ponderosa, a lot of fond memories. Definitely was the time and the place. Would not go back now. I mean, it was a perfect job for an 18-year-old, because basically you cooked steaks at night, you cleaned up, and then you went to somebody's house and you partied to the wee hours of the morning, and then you got up late the next day and did it all over again. You went and you partied with the wait staff, and it was a good time. It really was. I'm glad I had that experience. So Ponderosa, interestingly enough, the Ponderosa that I worked at, of course, by this time about 98, you couldn't smoke indoors for a majority of places. But they did have ashtrays. I know, like in the box there's a big box in storage in the back that it was just stock full of glass ashtrays, but none of them were this one. They were all just plain glass ashtrays. So that location never got these ashtrays with the logo on it. I always thought that was interesting. So I didn't get this from the restaurant I worked at. I procured this from the internet from the same person selling the Bonanza ashtray, so I got it in a bundle. So yeah, Ponderosa, Bonanza, the same company, same kind of thing, because Ponderosa would also have a bit of a buffet, but they were more of a steakhouse. And so that is that. Let's move on. Let's stick with the steakhouse milieu and go with our next ashtray, Mr. Steak. Mr. Steak, yes, don't know much about Mr. Steak. We had one in my hometown. In fact, it was 2 buildings down from the Ponderosa that I worked at. We had a Mr. Steak through the 80s and some of the 90s, but then when it closed, never went there. Don't know much about Mr. Steak. All I know is that it was a nationwide steakhouse chain through the 80s. And through the 80s, like steakhouse chains was a big deal. You had Mr. Steak, you had Sizzler, you had Ponderosa. So like steakhouses were all over the place in the 80s, and Mr. Steak is part of that list, but I've never eaten there. Don't know if their food was any good. I'm guessing it was just a steakhouse. I love the logo, though. Very, very nostalgic. I remember seeing this logo a lot of places. I remember seeing commercials when I was a kid, but we just never went there for whatever reason. I don't know. But yeah, Mr. Steak, really happy to have this one. I came across this by accident whilst cruising the high seas of internet shopping, and this just came up in the search, and I was like, I could use a Mr. Steak ashtray, and this one wasn't very expensive. I think this one was $16. I think it was free shipping as well. I'm not sure, but this one is one of the cheaper ones. So again, if you're looking to get into collecting restaurant ashtrays, please don't think they're all very expensive and out of your reach. They're not. Some of them are very, very reasonable, and there are your introduction pieces, which this one is, as well as a Burger Chef one from earlier. But then there are some pretty pricey ones, which we'll get into that here coming up soon. So yeah, Mr. Steak, don't have much to say about this. Never went there. I remember them, but I never went there. Love the logo. Very, very nostalgic look. Certainly love this yellowish, brownish glass that they used for the ashtray, because it was this clear or green. There was like the translucent green or translucent yellow or just clear glass ashtrays. That was a big thing through that time period, so they went with the brownish yellow look. So certainly makes it stand out amongst my collection. So anyways, yeah, Mr. Steak, don't know much about it, so let's move on. So maybe you're not familiar with those other restaurants, but here's one that you more than likely are, with Pizza Hut. Well, you might not be familiar with this logo. This is their early logo through the 70s, I believe. And we all forget that Pizza Hut did start off with a mascot, that little chef guy there, but they really didn't do much with it. Certainly they didn't do much with it in the 80s and beyond, because in the 80s they changed the logo to what we all know it as today. And again, with these logos, I wish I had the 80s logo for Pizza Hut on this ashtray, but alas, I cannot find one. Don't know if they made one. I'm not entirely sure if it's out there. Again, hit me up in the comments. Let me know if I can find one, if it does exist, because I don't know if it does or not. But I am happy to have this one. This was a gift, a very, very thoughtful gift, because I am a fan of Pizza Hut, at least in the 80s I was. Going to Pizza Hut as a kid was a remarkable experience, almost like a pilgrimage. It was such a visceral experience. The smells, the sights, the sounds. The Pizza Hut in the 80s as a kid was phenomenal. And I have tons of fond memories, going to classmates' birthday parties there at Pizza Hut, just going with my family on the weekends as a special treat. And it was indeed a special treat to go to Pizza Hut, to go and sit down. They had like a little mini arcade somewhere in the area, and you just had a great time. You really did. Pizza Hut was great, and I remember the time before they had free refills on the soft drinks, and if you wanted more than one, you had to get the pitcher. That is something that very unfamiliar with people nowadays, because I think they started the free refills thing, I guess 89 perhaps. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, Pizza Hut, one of those restaurants that will never be the same again. Much like everything else, it's just never going to be the same. Things were just so much different back then. I love the 80s very much. I love my childhood. I was very blessed to have a very, very good childhood, and the Pizza Hut is one of my very, very fondly remembered experiences. So yeah, big fan of Pizza Hut. I love to have this. I love having this ashtray, but I do wish I had the 80s logo ashtray as well. Maybe I'll find one day, much like the other ones. So yeah, Pizza Hut ashtray. Happy to have this one, and let's see what we got next. Well, not so fast. I should also mention that Pizza Hut was such a big thing in the 80s that it actually became incorporated with certain school systems, elementary schools that is, with their program Book It, a program called Book It to encourage reading in elementary school students. And if you're not familiar, you probably are, but if you're not, it was a little program that would encourage you to read. It would be sponsored by Pizza Hut and go through your school, and you would read a certain number of books, and you'd have to do a book report or something. And if you did that, you got points, and if you got enough points, you got a free personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut. You got a voucher to cash in for a personal pan pizza, and you also got this neat little button that was holographic. It was a cool deal. Book It was a big deal. So yeah, Pizza Hut, just big part of the 80s, big part of the school system in the United States here at least. So who would have thought? So yeah, with that being said, let's move on. But let's go with something a little bit more recognizable with Arby's. Yes, the famous Arby's, still kicking today. In fact, you could argue that they're doing way better than they ever have. Arby's is certainly a major player when it comes to fast food, certainly unique amongst all the other fast food chains. Arby's, a roast beef house, essentially. And of course, I talked about Racks earlier. So yeah, Arby's is the other roast beef chain. Now it's the only roast beef chain, really. So yeah, definitely interesting design as far as ashtray templates go. You got almost like a teardrop design, or maybe even a pear-shaped design. I don't know. I've never really seen ashtrays like this before. This Arby's ashtray certainly stands out amongst all my other ashtrays and any other ashtray I've ever seen. Definitely an interesting shape for an ashtray. There you got the Arby's logo, which really has remained unchanged for a very, very long time. They just went with the Arby's. And in case if you're wondering what that is supposed to be, that is a big cowboy hat. It's supposed to be a big cowboy hat. So yeah, Arby's sticking with the same logo for a very, very long time. Of course, they've had different logos, but this one just seems to really hit it big with their markets, and they just hung on to it. So yeah, Arby's logo, Arby's ashtray. I never expected to have this one. This one was another gift, very thoughtful gift. Didn't even know an Arby's ashtray existed. Of course, I should have known better, but I've never seen one. It never came up in any of my searches. It just didn't come up. So I was very surprised to have an Arby's ashtray, especially one with such a unique design. So very, very happy to have an Arby's ashtray. Certainly was a fan of Arby's. I know a lot of people don't like Arby's, but I just think it depends on your taste. Arby's does have just a lot of really tasty stuff, in my opinion. Just very, very I don't know why. Well, I guess I already said it best. Tasty stuff. So yeah, definitely. That's all I'm going to say because Arby's is not paying me. Neither is any of these other restaurant chains that I'm talking about today. So let's let's put the kibosh on praising their products and let's move on. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but it is a rather rainy day out here at sea. There is some pretty aggressive rain beating down on the deck of the VHS Pirate Ship here. Of course, I am below deck, but that doesn't mean you still can't hear the rain. So if you hear the rain, hopefully it just enhances your relaxation experience here tonight. I really hope so. But anyways, here up next we have something that's very, very familiar with Wendy's. Wendy's hamburgers, classic logo there. And it should be said that Wendy's stuff, as well as McDonald's stuff, rather pricey out there, sort of hard to find. In fact, Wendy's Ashtray is something I never thought I would have. This is another gift. I'm very, very blessed to know such generous people, very thoughtful people, and I'm very happy for this. Never even thought to look up a Wendy's Ashtray. Well, actually, that's not true. I did about a year or two ago just to be curious, and I found the price a little bit too high for my liking, so I was like, wow, I guess, I said, well, I guess I'll never have a Wendy's Ashtray because I don't want to pay that price. But Wendy's promotional stuff certainly gets up there in price, much like McDonald's, and this is certainly one of the cases. Wendy's Ashtrays on the more rare side of the restaurant ashtray realm, so very, very happy to have this. Very surprised to have this. Like I said, it was a gift. Just thank you very much for gifting this to me. If you're out there watching, I certainly appreciate it. Never thought I'd have a Wendy's Ashtray. Wendy's, I don't know. Wendy's, like I said before, is one of the big three now, but it was the big four burger joints: McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and Burger Chef. Of course, now it's just all those sans Burger Chef. So yeah, Wendy's still a major player in the game. Certainly, I mean, if you do the research, Wendy's does have some pretty fresh food. So, but you know what? You do pay for that because Wendy's is on the pricier side of fast food stuff. So if you enjoy fast food, Wendy's, I'm sure, is a rather rare treat just because of the expense. Now, it is true that McDonald's is also rather expensive too, which it's kind of sucks because McDonald's does have a lot of chemically enhanced products in their food they sell, and I'm not just saying that as some kind of conspiracy theorist. I'm saying that because I know plenty of people who have worked at McDonald's and have seen how the sausage is made. As I've said before, once you get the inside look, you really can't look anywhere else. So, they have told me some things that I wish I didn't know. But of course, like everyone, I did grow up with McDonald's. And speaking of McDonald's, let's move on to another ashtray I didn't think I would ever have with this McDonald's ashtray. And I say that because McDonald's stuff, especially ashtrays, go for some pretty high prices. So McDonald's ashtrays have never really been on my radar just because I really don't want to spend too much on ashtrays. I spend enough on VHS tapes. There's a limit. You have to have a limit. You have to set limits, or else you just kind of go insane with this stuff. And not only do you go insane, but you also go broke. So your hobbies have to have limits, or else it's a psychosis. And of course, glass restaurant ashtrays are no exception. And so this McDonald's ashtray, another gift from the same very generous person. Certainly love them, and thank you very much if you're watching. If you're wondering, McDonald's ashtrays go for a lot of money. At least they do when this video was recorded originally. This is March of 2025. If you watch this in the future, that might be relevant. But as the time goes, McDonald's ashtrays and any McDonald's stuff is very, very expensive. If you want to buy it for any kind of collection. It is the golden calf, as it were. I don't want to say golden calf. I guess I shouldn't say that, but it is the golden standard, the gold standard as far as like restaurant memorabilia goes, and that would be McDonald's, and of course this ashtray is no exception. I remember seeing this on the tables when I was a real little kid, in my, when my grandmother took me to McDonald's. She would certainly use this ashtray. She was a smoker, and it should be noted here that, of course, as well as any restaurant, most restaurants, they wouldn't just have glass ashtrays. Most of them would also have these like foil little disposable ashtrays, which I'll get to that here towards the end of the video. But yeah, this one, they did have glass ashtrays in McDonald's, and this is one of the better examples. Of course, the classic translucent brown. You just have the McDonald's arches on the side. Doesn't have the logo in the middle where you butt out your smoking enjoyments. It just has it on the side. So yeah, it's a different, very, very unique design for this, but this was the most common McDonald's ashtray. Now, of course, there exists another McDonald's glass ashtray to where it's a clear glass, and it's more of the standard square design, like the Burger Chef one was, and the Rax one was, but it has just the golden arches in the middle. Now that one is very, very rare, very, very expensive. That one is one I never expect to get, and I certainly do not want anybody to gift that to me, because that is way too much to spend on a ashtray. And of course, it should be noted here that all these ashtrays you see, I do not use. I am a smoker, but I do not use these ashtrays. These go on a shelf, museum quality. They are taken care of because I'm a curator of the past, and I don't want to use these ashtrays for their intended purpose. Instead, they are indeed just display pieces, and very, in my opinion, I think they're very beautiful. I think they're lovely, and I love having them. I especially love having this McDonald's ashtray, because I never thought I would have it, because it is on the upper side of the price tier. At least it was when I last checked. Of course, again, if you're watching this in the future, this video was made March of 2025. So if you're watching this in the future, hello from the past. So yeah, McDonald's ashtray. Happy to have this. Maybe one day I will have the other translucent, the other ashtray, the translucent glass one, translucent clear glass ashtray with the logo in the middle. But I do not expect to get it. I really don't, and it's cool if I never have it, so it's fine. I'm happy to have this one. Never expected it. Very, very happy to have this. And yeah, let's move on. You can't talk about burger joints without talking about Burger King, home of the Whopper, of course. And here we have a Burger King ashtray. Now, if you watched the show before, if you watched the show and tell before, this one might look a little familiar to you, because I did feature this one in my Christmas haul video, Christmas haul show and tell video. This was another gift. I don't know. I don't have words for this. It was such a great gift, because for one, I had no idea this existed. Just because of the size of it, it's so peculiar to me, because there is such an immense size difference between this one and the rest of my ashtray collection, compared to the Wendy's one, which is sort of the same circumference of the other ashtrays I have. But this one is just so different. In fact, it's not even glass. I'm pretty sure it's porcelain. It's just this. I don't know. It's a piece of art. I mean, look at that thing. It's tremendous. See what there's not really much of a thing on the back to tell you what it's from. There's no year, of course. I have no idea what year this is from. I have no idea what year this is from. It's clearly a very, very early Burger King promotional item because of the logo. I mean, when's the last time you saw that logo? You didn't. That's the answer to that question. It's just such a charmingly unique piece to my ashtray collection, and I should say also it's unique because I don't know what to do with it. I really can't display it with the rest of them, because it's so big, almost comically big, that it's just doesn't fit with the rest of them. So, but I still love having it, and I do what I can to display it, and it's not that big of a deal, but it is very, very interesting. And what's interesting as well is the cigarette divots in the side that pretty much every ashtray has, where you can just like put your cigarette on to rest it as you do something else. Try to figure out a Rubik's Cube, or perhaps your dog is eating something it shouldn't, so you have to put your cigarette down for a second, and that's what the divots are for. This one has very, very small divots. So I'm guessing, it was ideal for Virginia Slims or any other kind of old lady cigarettes. But as far as like any other kind of like regular cigarette goes, it's not going to do the trick. You just kind of got to really improvise. But of course, I'm not going to use this as an ashtray. This is a straight up display piece, but this would be on the tabletops of all the old Burger King joints when Burger King first became a thing. So I'm just very, 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 very happy to have this. What a supreme gift. I had no idea it existed. I had no idea that someone would even think to get this for me. So if you're watching, thank you very much for getting this. I love you very much. Thank you. A truly tremendous gift, and I'm very appreciative. Thank you very much. And I do wish I knew more about it, though. I wish I had more info on it. I suppose I could initiate a Google search about this. But I'm sure I will sometime. I just want to know what era it's from. Clearly, this is the very, very early, if not the beginning of Burger King. And plus, I should say that I really am just sort of getting into collecting restaurant ashtrays. There are plenty I haven't even thought to look up yet, and Burger King, of course, is one of them. I do want to try to find just a normal glass ashtray with the 1980s Burger King logo on it, if it exists. The thing is, I'm only assuming that most restaurants did have their own ashtrays, but I don't know if that's true or not. I'm still, like I said, I'm still new to this collecting of restaurant ashtrays. But you know what? It's a lot of fun. And with restaurant ashtrays, they weren't always glass. They would eventually go with a more cost-efficient measure with these, which I talked about a little earlier in the show here. These little pressed aluminum ashtrays, which are clearly meant to be disposable, and they were probably really cheap to get manufactured, and they probably most restaurants probably went this route because they realized people were just straight up stealing their glass ashtrays, which, like I said, is probably how I ended up getting all of these in my collection. The people who originally had them probably stole them, or they got them from somebody who did steal them, or there is an off chance that they did work for these particular restaurants and, of course, stole them. So they had the inside. It was an inside job. Some restaurants would do this little these aluminum cheap ashtrays. Here we have a McDonald's one, which isn't that cheap. This wasn't very cheap for what it is. I'm not going to say I'm not proud of what I paid for it, because it really wasn't all that much, considering this was the only listing at the time for this particular item. So I just had to have it, because I certainly have a very, very broad memory of these, more so than the glass ashtrays. And the next one here is Hardee's. If you're not familiar with Hardee's, it is actually a pretty major fast food chain, though it is quite regional. I know, like, there's some cities that don't even have Hardee's, but then other parts of the states, there's Hardee's everywhere. And if you go, like, I think down south, or like out towards the southwest and then the west coast, they're called Carl's Jr., but it's the same company. Hardee's, they're a little bit all over the spectrum as far as like what they sell. They're not exactly a burger joint. But they're also not exactly a roast beef joint. They're also not actually a fried chicken joint. However, they do have all of those items. So I think Hardee's is sort of more known for their burgers nowadays, but they used to be just kind of known for everything. Hardee's, as far as I can remember, they sort of went through a little marketing crisis through like the 90s, and a lot of the stores didn't survive. Hardee's has a very interesting story. Maybe one day I will do a video about Hardee's. But it is not this day. And this actually, I got this. I didn't just get this one. The seller was selling like 36 of these. He had a sleeve of these, and it was very, very cheap. I think it was like $7 for 36 of them. And given just the nostalgia behind them, I had to have them. And so I still have plenty of these left, and I would give them out to my friends as just like little fun gifts, because they are pretty handy. They make handy weed trays if you partake, and a lot of my friends do. So it's nice to break up your buds on them, and they said that they have used them for that, and they certainly enjoy that. So yeah, they're just fun things to have. Not really too much you can do with them. As far as you can use them as an ashtray if you want to. You can break up your weed on them, or you could just set them around. I don't know. I personally, I always prefer the glass ashtrays because they just look so much better. But, for nostalgia's sakes, I had to get at least a couple of these little aluminum ashtrays. And I wonder how many other restaurants did these aluminum ashtrays, and I will find that out someday. But again, it is not this day. So yeah, that's going to about wrap it up for this episode of the Show and Tell. I should say also that there are plenty that are on my wish list that I want to get, that I want to explore and to see if they even had ashtrays. And of course, in today's world, it is awful strange because you never really quite know if something's vintage or not, or someone just made it through like a print company or something, because that's always a thing. There's plenty of repops out there, not just for ashtrays, but also for like t-shirts and even VHS and just all kinds of stuff. So vintage collecting anymore is rather difficult because you never know who's being quite honest. I prefer people to be honest. It's always the best policy. Yes, thank you very much for watching this episode of the Show and Tell. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a good time talking about all my glass ashtrays. Well, I should say not just glass ashtrays, because you just saw I had these little aluminum ashtrays as well. Let me rephrase that. Thank you for listening to me talk and show off my restaurant ashtrays. It was a lot of fun. So yes, please hit subscribe if you don't mind. I certainly would appreciate that. And please come back again. It's always a good time. Check out the other videos. Check out all my other videos. I do plenty of show and tell videos, and I'm going to do plenty of show and tell videos in the future as well. So please stay tuned right here on Captain Adam's VHS Pirate Ship. And this is your old buddy Captain Adam reminding you to stay positive in all things. Look onward and upward. Look to God and trust in Jesus Christ, and everything is going to be all right. Please keep the faith, and always, I always want you to know this. I want you to do well and be well. I'm rooting for you. I'm cheering for you. I'm praying for you. Hey, I'm here for you. It's Captain Adam here for you. I also want to remind you, just always look on the bright side, because the bright side is always, it's always more pleasant than the dark side, isn't it? Always stay positive in all things. And please be generous, be kind, and be brave, and take care out there. And I'll see you next time, only on Captain Adam's VHS Pirate Ship. Goodbye, and God bless.